Society seems to lose empathy for boys as they start to age. How has this affected you? I injured my knee pretty badly 2 weeks ago. Hospital trip and everything. Likely a torn meniscus, but without an MRI it's just a guess. I'm limping and can't extend my knee entirely. Came back to work this week. My manager is a pretty nice guy and told me to do the best I can and that I could change up how I do my work to stay off my feet, so a job I normally do standing is now a job I've changed so I can do it sitting. But the guy I work who's in his late 50s thinks I'm milking the fact I can now sit down and is treating me like I'm the biggest scumbag known to man, even though he knows I injured my knee. He's even said he's worked with injuries before and not gotten any special privileges like I have. So LOL. It feels like either I need to figure out how to help myself or just die. Those are the only two options. It's given me a really bitter outlook on people and what my life is supposed to be, because I can't help myself. I've been trying for years. It's like the world wants me dead, but I won't let them get their way. This 100%. I was on my own at 19. My dad's a hippie and my mom is in another state. I've never had anyone to fall back on, so I've just had to make do. I have had to figure out money, parenting, career, all with zero input from people who could actually help guide me. I've been burned a lot by people who just want to take advantage and leech off others. Because of this I've learned, if I don't take care of myself, nobody will. So I make sure that myself and my family have what are needed before we start sacrificing things to help others. People have called me a narcissist because of this. Seems like even when we figure out how to provide for ourselves and our families, others will still try to beat you down for it. Made me lose empathy for the world as a teen. Now in my early 20s I'm trying to get it back. Well, when I was going through a horrible time in the military I notified the base psychologist and we had a meeting. I told him I was suicidal, that I had anxiety attacks and more. His response? Man up, get more anxiety attacks until they won't bother you. So I went to another psychologist. She told me she has no way to help me, but wanted me to sign a form that if I commit suicide without notifying my commander, he is actually the most amazing commander in the world in my opinion, my family won't get the perks of a fallen soldier's family. I didn't sign it 'cause I was suicidal, not an idiot. It didn't change anything. I still had a rifle on me and a few full clips. I have a friend that went to the psychologist for reasons similar to mine. She got a month at home to get better, she got perks to not do the things that stress her, she didn't see a rifle since that day. But I think it's mostly that they were horrible psychologists rather than society being shit, because everyone on base were there for me without even knowing what I was going through. They just noticed I didn't feel like myself. I got a dog. The world could turn against me but my doggo never would. A book that really helped me was No More Mr. Nice Guy. It's basically a book that helps you realize who you really are. I've been following the words in it, and my life has really taken a turn for the better. Also, I learned to love myself. It helped me really not care about what others thought of me, because my self-worth was based on my own feelings, not others. But you are unfortunately correct that people care less as men get older. It's a sad trend. That's why I try to always be an open and apathetic ear to anyone who needs someone. It was abrupt. In high school they gave me caseworkers and put me in therapy when I had trouble in school. Then basically on my 18th birthday the entire world was just like, fuck you, if you have any more problems you can just go to jail or die in the street. It's made me keep in touch with my male friends that I have a lot in common with. I basically use our phone conversations as unofficial therapy sessions. The sad part is it's scary how often they share things with me that I strongly feel they haven't been able to share with anyone else. By losing empathy towards society. When I was younger, it didn't matter what I was doing or what time it was. If I felt like shit, I could generally go to anyone and cry my eyes out. When I hit 10-11 I noticed this behavior was suddenly frowned upon, or I'd get the, is he serious, look. Only time I've properly cried in the past 12 years is when my granddad passed away, and even then it was overwhelming and actually felt kind of scary to feel that way when it should be natural. While it sounds good on the surface, never crying and so on, without proper control it can build up and boil over for most men. I reckon that's why suicides are so high or why some men are overly aggressive. When I realized this, I started meditating and using gym as a stress relief and anger management tactic. It's done wonders for me. Starting to unapologetically put myself first. My needs come first. I'm the only one who that truly gives a damn about me outside of what I can provide. I may as well feed that animal. Well, I have basically realized it's expected of me to dedicate myself to others. Whether it be family, work, or whatever. It seems looked down upon to just live life for you. Well, fuck that. My life is mine. I'll try to do some good, but I'm living life for me. Not having kids, not going after a crazy busy job either. I'd like a partner, but only if it's the right person for me. If not, I'll stay single. For resources, you could look up Warren Farrell and the gender empathy gap, or look about male disposability. There are people out there who do genuinely care about men. Like most things, accept it and move on. It's important to have outlets though. For me, it's running or making music. Reading these so I can try to be the best mom I can be to my son. I'm sorry that this is how boys are treated. Honestly, man. People forget that at any age, a little checkup, a hug, or even little words of affirmation could make someone's entire month. I feel like a burden or weak if I open up to people. I'm 31 now, but at about 28 I started cultivating a close group of friends. I really evaluated the people I had around me to find out who I could open up to on a deeper level. My mom was dying of cancer and eventually died, and those times were hell. It made me see who was a friend and who was an associate. Nothing wrong with either, it's just knowing where you stand and not expecting more than what you'll get. Fiancé died. Nobody wanted to hear it, just get back to work. You know where I see it the most is in my female friends on social media. Every day it is, "Meg are garbage, men are trash, we'd be better without men, I want to kill the dreams of men." Every day. Every fucking day. These are women that admire me, say I'm kind, and yet following them just kills my self-esteem, especially when I genuinely do want to stay close to them. Even after trimming my social media just to people I am strong friends with, I see that shit. When I talk to them IRL, they are always so amazed and surprised that I don't think highly of myself and have low self-esteem. They think that stuff just doesn't matter. That I can get over it. I ask them, what about all the messed up stuff about women in the media, and they don't think it is bad. They wonder why I've been single for so long or why I just don't see myself to have value. And this isn't just the women in my life I am close with, it is everyone too. The number of people that just seem surprised that I feel sad, lonely, or negative for long periods of time is high. Again, they think that I don't have feelings or that my feelings aren't hurt. If I do express my feelings too much, I am gay. Or trans. That has happened. Basically, masculinity to so many people means that men can't be human beings with feelings and hearts. I hate it. As someone with ASD who struggles with day-to-day social interactions, it's horrible as I'm just told to man up every time I have a negative reaction. Give up your sanity and struggle through life like me. Very much. I learned to keep things to myself. A. No one cares if I have problems anyway. B. I can lose friends or partners by revealing them. On the upside, this has made me a stronger person, because I had to learn to deal with things myself. On the downside, it means in some ways you're forever alone, because you can never fully trust anyone. I also consider it my duty to deal with my problems as much as I can, without even telling my partner, or anyone else, about it. The thinking is, they don't know how much shit I am going through, therefore I don't know how much shit they are going through. And I don't want to add to anyone's burden. I am sure many people have enough as it is, so again I have learned to deal with things myself, and not to talk to others. It made me stronger, and it made me less of a burden to others. I'm a raging alcoholic now. I'm a calm alcoholic. I got the lesson pretty early on that I wasn't supposed to express negative emotions to anyone at any time, so I just stuffed everything down. I haven't really feel much empathy of note in my life. Guess I can't really blame people if they can't tell I have a problem. 22 male here, I have started to notice this more and more. I was in a fraternity for 4 years through college, so I think I was sheltered in this regard. The thing that really hits me is the sheer amount of distrust that I get in public. I ask someone if they need help with something, say groceries or moving a large XYZ, and they are absolutely terrified. When I walked around my campus at night, people would sometimes cross the street when I was walking. I hold the door open for someone and they stare at me as they pass through. It's absolutely isolating. I'm a big black guy and my city has some crime, as most do, but it just hurts that people see me as a predator all the time. Especially women. As a man who's been through a sexual assault, it makes me feel like shit to make someone scared for their safety, even when it's not my fault that I'm just a large man. I mean, I could lose weight, but that's beside the point. How does it affect me? Well, I'll be gone within the next 5 years, so it doesn't matter. It has made me feel like I cannot go to anyone, including my partner, when I have an emotional crisis of any level. I have isolated myself often enough to deal with emotional pain and trauma so often that I don't have any long-term friends anymore. The crazy part is I don't blame them at all. If they acted like I did, I would stop reaching out after a while too. That is one thing that I see a lot more of now than I did when I was coming up, is that little boys aren't automatically labeled weak or gay for not being stoic at all times. It's hard to always be okay. If you are a woman reading this somehow, please remember that not being okay doesn't constitute some failure on your part. Sometimes you are just not okay, and sometimes we are too. I'll be honest, I don't think it's just as they start to age. I think it's starting earlier and earlier. I feel like nowadays boys are chastised for acting in ways that boys traditionally act, and because they were born with a penis, they're by default wrong in a lot of ways. There's a big push that boys and girls, however those terms are defined nowadays, if at all, be treated the same, and that there should be no difference between them. What that means, though, is that boys are stripped of things that were traditionally considered boyish without any give from the other side. That is, traditionally boy traits are inherently bad and have to be changed. I don't know how controversial that will be here, and I'm not trying to be so. Nor do I want to make boys/men out to be victims. But I'm the father of a 1-2-year-old son married to a teacher who keeps up with current events, and the trend I see makes me worry for him. I want him to grow up, to be strong, to treat all people well, and to have self-confidence. And that seems to be tougher and tougher nowadays. As for myself and the effect it's had on me, I'm like many other men. While I have men friends I can share intimate things with and struggles, I feel like I'm constantly holding them in around the people who I should be able to share with the most, my family. I feel like I have to be the strong, put together father and husband, and feel like I should be able to shoulder what everyone else is going through. I don't ever feel like I get to be the one that has the breakdown, the one that gets to say, I'm not doing shit today, I'll be in my room. I don't remember any time in my adult life when I've had a cathartic moment when I choked up a bit, maybe, but never just cry. It just made me realize that at the end of the day, I am on my own. Here's a gross generalization for the sake of gross generalizations: men in much of the world are seen as expendable while women are seen as property. Men are expected to fend for themselves or discarded by the world. Women are expected to be fended for or they are discarded by the world. No one gives a damn about men or women in distinct ways. Since those ways diverge, it can make men and women internalize it as no one caring about the gender they belong to, when in reality every person and other living organism is desperately trying to survive as best we can. It's a lonely existence, but one we all share despite the divergence of our experiences. It hasn't affected me 'cause I'm 30, but I worry for my future sons if I have any. This culture can be rather toxic, and everyone is lost with the culture and social media, using those as crutches over natural experience, and as a parent I need to keep them rooted in their identity. Leave school and social media out of sight and out of mind. I just stopped being that empathetic myself. Unless you show me. Plus working out, and having a good set of friends around you that care help when you need it. I'm not having kids, I can't do that to my son. It's left me distrustful of most if not all people. I'd be mute if I could get away with it. And I kind of want global society and all of Earth to crumble and fall to pieces too. Outside of all that, I wouldn't say it has affected me too much, Imo. Well, let's just say I've passed a kidney stone without crying, so it's fair to say I rarely ever cry, be it emotional or physical pain, to the point that sometimes when I'm so sad that I want to cry as a form of release, but no tears come. But whenever someone from my family taunts me for being mediocre cause of my grades or my inability to land an internship, I'm fighting back tears. Success/excellence is the only metric by which people measure me, so that is the only thing I'm vulnerable to. I'm from the second most populous country in the world, if you want to paint a picture. No one believed me when I said my wife beat me. Medical and police records didn't matter either. This might come off as a joke, and it is if you actually laugh it with me. But when my wife got pregnant, she got showered with gift and positive words. You are amazing. You are going to be a wonderful mom. Moms are the best. Me on the side with 2 jobs, holding a beer. Damn, I helped make that there were no other fathers. I was the first one in my whole group to have a baby. So there was no, you're going to be a great dad. At that moment I felt a slight jealousy, but I find it funny that I had the thought. Trans guy here, I definitely have a different experience than other folks here, but I think I can speak to the difference between how men and women are treated since I've experienced both sides of the coin. After a few months on T, the way strangers, and even longtime acquaintances, treated me changed a lot. People were less emotionally supportive, quick to help, or friendly. It's definitely a lonely sort of way to move through the world sometimes. In the beginning, while I was read as a preteen or teenage boy, people sometimes bordered on aggressive. Maybe they assume teenage boys are just always up to no good. There's also a different set of expectations around professional success, where before people seemed impressed with my career interests and direction. All that seems less important now than simply how much I work and how much I make. Fulfillment or passion comes up as a topic less often. With all of this in mind, I'm a big proponent of the idea that everyone needs and deserves compassion, kindness, and emotional support regardless of their gender. You have maybe a 2-year grace period when you're 18 to 20 where you can be a smart ass / not as on the ball / less reliable than others. And after that you're done, no more chances. You should just know, you can't be late, etc. I see this time and time again with apprentices in work. I know it happened to me and I find myself doing it to others. I don't agree with it, but it is what it is, and people being PEOP, you give them an inch, they take a mile. Example being, you tell a guy the job starts at 7:30, he walks in at 7:45, you ask why, he says his bus / train etc. was late, you give him the benefit of the doubt. Next day you see him come in at 7:50 carrying a coffee, he wasn't late, he was taking the piss. But you chew him out first time, he won't be late again. As for how this affected me personally, I had a smart mouth, funny when you're young, not so funny as you get older. I thought I was Jack the Lad, but didn't know that one by one the tradesmen were deciding I wasn't worth the hassle. I was young and insecure and used it as a defense mechanism. Anyway, there were layoffs around the corner and no one spoke up to keep me, and they kept the other apprentice who did not have my ability but had better listening skills and attitude. After 6 months where I couldn't find any work and tried to see if they would take me back on, they said no. After some honesty and promises if I got back I'd be diligence personified, I was told you're out of chances, kiddo. Anyway, as you get on you're just expected to be able to know X, and if not you're not the man for the job. It may only take a day or 2 to get you up to speed, but for someone over say 24/25 they ain't giving you that time. My wife punched me in the side of my head while very drunk a month ago. She broke her hand and now I have 2 felony charges and am spending $10,000 on a lawyer to get it reduced to, hopefully, 2-year supervised probation. I've never laid a hand on her. And I see the look in every one of my friends and family members' eyes when I have to tell them the story, the look that says, well, maybe he did it. My mom has been really supportive, but only after asking if I was sure I hadn't done anything. Like many of us, at first I was angry and lost empathy for society. The level of inequality made me so mad. Especially since I couldn't complain about anything, since I was part of the patriarchy and should just be a man and deal with it. Eventually I moved on. I learned that the reason I was so mad about it was because I felt insecure about myself and wanted to be accepted and validated. I went on a stoicism journey to accept myself as I am and form my own ideas. Right now I am at peace with myself and try to help other men find their way as well. Society does not support young boys. This does not mean they don't need it. This is why good male spaces are so important today. Learned pretty early on that nobody actually cares about your problems and you'll just have to suck it up, or die. It sucks. I have an appointment with a therapist next week because my friend believes I am depressed. I don't know how to really open up and talk about what and how I feel. To me, it feels like I'm just whining and rambling. Losing? I'm 60. Almost no one has ever had true empathy for me. A couple of very close male friends, and that's about it. I definitely feel it. But I was a whiny kid, and to an extent, people not caring is probably the only thing that helped me realize how ineffective it was. Not that I'm 100% different now. But then the question becomes, if I am upset about something, how do I communicate that? If it's not important and especially if I can't change it, then it's best to just not bring it up, but if someone asks me, I will be honest. It seems like short of screaming or crying, it's tough to impress on someone how important something is to me. But those also aren't normal responses, so they're not things I want to escalate to immediately despite knowing they're the most effective tools. Basically, suck it up and cope in my case. As others have said, this includes major disillusionment with the mankind. Oh well. I wasn't believed about my mental health concerns, and was told I'm just having a hard time dealing with getting out of the military. Also been told to man up, quit being a pussy, etc. I ended up on the Veterans Crisis Line and they tried to pump me with meds and tell me not to smoke marijuana. Now I'm being seen by the VA, and was threatened with being committed if I stopped taking the Wellbutrin my flight surgeon put me on while still in service, because I didn't want to just start taking Cymbalta out of nowhere right as I started a new job. This could have all been avoided if men's mental health didn't have so much stigma surrounding it, and people actually believed men instead of thinking they're just having a moment of weakness. Not a man. Just wanted to add, this makes me so sad. I'm a school counselor for pre-K 8th grade. I always ask my students, pre-COVID, if they would like a hug, high five, fist bump, etc. or nothing before going back to class after our meetings. At first I thought no middle school boy was going to want a hug, but they all do. And they hug me like nobody has ever hugged them. I can feel their whole body relax. It breaks my heart. I wish I could still offer this now, but obviously can't, at least for a while. This literally touched me, man. As I'm growing up, I realize the pressure and expectations building up on me. And then when I mess up, the support diminishes more each time. The age 20 to 26 is such a dark stage for men. Your age fellow girls are getting married and your career has just started, elders treat you as unproven theorems, teenagers feel that you are too old to have in their group. You seem to enjoy both cartoons and news. You can no longer eat whatever you wish without putting on weight. You look like an ape if you don't shave daily. You have all the confidence in the world but little achievements to show. You already have the first-hand experience of the life. You know that whatever you have been taught about the world in schools has been sheer waste of time. You can be denied a job even after passing the test, and you could be given a job if you know someone placed high enough. Politics till now was a dirty word, but now you feel it everywhere. You even know love is not that blind and that friendship has its terms and conditions. In fact, then you actually came to know the difference among friendships and acquaintances when you smell jealousy and envy in the greetings of the people you call friend. You know there is nothing for granted and free lunches are not free. Your overconfidence is now making way for a humble conscience. You now know it is not exactly what we thought it would be. Build up a circle of friends that you trust 100% and that will be there when you need them. If that is done, you don't have to care about anything else. I weigh up suicide on a daily basis. If you're not successful, you're just a burden upon humanity. It affected me in that I lost empathy for society in return. Well, my ex ruined my reputation and has left me suicidal. My family and friends all just tell me to get my shit together. I try to explain that I need someone to speak to, but they tell me that I can find someone to speak. I always hated that dynamic. I'm what my ex-girlfriend called a delicate flower. I cry during sad movies, I cry when I'm sad, I cry when I'm happy. I don't see any problems for crying. My feelings are my feelings and I express them however I want, regardless of what people think. I have a stoic demeanor and I'm physically intimidating from what I've been told, but I wear my shoulders on my sleeve. This whole thing about men shouldn't cry or show feelings is fucking stupid and needs to change. Cry when you want to, who fucking cares what people think? I can't figure out if finding a woman who really cares and understands that I have a range of emotions outside of sensory satisfaction and anger to express is realistic or something I'll need to sacrifice most of in order to not be lonely. I've never met a woman that gave a damn about a man's emotions. If he showed the wrong one, he's punished. The only one allowed seems to be anger, and that's so the woman can shame the man for displaying anger, thus continuing the control of emotional state for her own egoistic satisfaction. I can't force women to see me as something besides an object or utility. And there's no socially acceptable way to communicate that without punishment. It's made it so I just act like everything's cool, try to talk about stuff, get punished, then give up and stop trying with that woman. I'll never even try to be a stepdad again or date a woman with kids again. Being placed after other people in an intimate relationship is just humiliating. I want my own kids and someone who wants me and not a cardboard cutout. Oh please, I got no empathy in the first place. Society may have, but I have a circle of friends who help me through shit, and their opinions and advice means more to me than what someone who doesn't know what I've gone through says. Women get a lot of attention from men and from women. Men aren't women, so we don't care about each other, which leaves us feeling alone. I have lots of repressed love and empathy making me break down more often recently, while on the other hand feelings of disappointment, sadness, frustration, and even misanthropy. We men also need support. Well, soon I have control over my healthcare and so I can finally loop for help. My dad, he said psychologists and such things are only for PPL who are mad. He is slowly changing ATM, but for me it's still hard to talk with him about it. I came to realize recently that unless someone is going through the same kind of thing that you went through, then they have no sympathy and they expect you to have it figured out. I had a really rough couple of years and the person who I thought was my best friend won't even speak to me until they have seen the finished product. I want to get out of this rut, but people don't know how that kind of thing affects you. Now I'm in a place where I'm ready to truly rebuild, and once I've come to that position I want to be in, I'm not sure if I want to be around that person again when I do. Honestly, I feel genuinely unlovable, and that I'm incapable of loving another person or being, I'm just afraid of intimacy. I feel this strange need to perform and that I'll never be good enough. No matter how hard I try, on some level anyone that tries to get closer to me is just going to be disappointed by what they find. Not just romantically, with friends, family, even animals. I mean, being a man is great because we have muscles, yay. I just stopped giving a shit about myself. I pushed away all my mental health problems and ignored my emotions. I'm an extreme anorexic and I tell no one because I know what's going to happen. I'm going to be laughed at. There's no point in trying to open up as a man if society itself won't take you seriously. That's why I chose to go this path of loneliness. I may have friends, but inside my mind I'm always alone. It affects us in every way whether we realize it or not. It absolutely ruined my relationship with my parents, for example, when they chose to fuck me over to help out my ex.